Today we're watching a true story animation of somebody with two heads and somebody with no face at all.
My name is Lizzie, and
Hello.
I'm 15 years old. At first glance, I'm a completely ordinary girl. I'm studying in high school, and I, like everyone else, have friends and enemies. But
Everyone
my parents,
does.
they're afraid of me.
What?
It's like they want to get rid of me, just like they got rid of my sister. It all started with an incident. There was a boy, Tim, in my class who I always hated. He was a freak, a jerk, a nerd, and our chemistry teacher's pet. Tim and I did not get along, but the teachers decided to reconcile us. She gave us a group project meant for two, and I had a eureka moment.
Ooh.
Imagine, not clever Tim, but me. We made the project according to my fantastic idea, but all the merit and praise didn't go to me, but to Tim. He had told the teacher that the project was his idea, and that I didn't even take part in it.
No wonder she hates him.
Her favourite, and I was slapped with an E. Naturally, I prepared my revenge.
But they were working on the project together. How's she gonna get her revenge?
I had a present for Tim, a beautiful box, which, when opened, exploded the opener with paint. The plan was this: I would put the surprise in his locker. He would open the box, and voila, his face covered in paint. I would catch the whole thing on video and upload for everyone to see. But whilst I was preparing to put his present in his locker, somebody spoke to me. "Don't do it," an unfamiliar voice whispered. I stopped, hesitating. The voice continued. "He's so handsome. You loved him." But there was no one around. I suddenly realized the voice was speaking from inside my head. It only got worse. Tim appeared around the corner and the voice gave me an order. "Go and kiss him. Straight away." My mind seemed not my own anymore, and I fell into a weird kind of trance. My body moved against my wishes.
She's being controlled by someone else.
Tim. Oh my God, in front of the whole school. He pushed me away and called me nuts. I ran away in tears, but my surprises didn't end there. I went into a classroom trying not to attract attention, although it was hard not to. There was a lesson going, math. Mrs. Sandy was teaching, and she, unlike other teachers, liked me. But then the voice spoke again. "Go and give Mrs. Sandy Tim's present." I resisted as hard as I could. Has this ever happened to you? When you don't want to do something, but for inexplicable reasons do. I couldn't control myself. The last thing I remember was an explosion of paint that covered the teacher's face. It was a disaster. I was sent to the principal, and from there, the school psychologist was called. In anticipation of the psychologist, I carefully examined the principal's office. Are people who examine other people's minds sound themselves? Could I trust our school psychologist? Should I tell him about the voice in my head? Whilst I was thinking these thoughts, I noticed that a pencil was slipping from my fingers. Nearby lay a perforated family photo of our psychologist. He was shocked at what I had done to the picture, but talked to me about what had happened. I didn't mention the voice, and the psychologist reasoned that everything that had happened was due to a nervous breakdown stemming from my poor assignment score. My parents were called to school, and they gave me a thrashing once I got home. But I was silent about the strange state of mind that I had had. What's going on? I hoped that everything would pass, but I hoped in vain.
So her parents got rid of her sister. What's happened there? Who's this person controlling her? And has she got a secret second head under all of that hair?
At night, the voice returned. I woke up in a flower bed under the window of my room. I had cut all my mother's favourite roses to their root. I screamed in pain. My hands were bleeding from the thorns, but that wasn't all. Inside the living room, I had smeared paint all over the sofa and ripped my dad's important paperwork to shreds. My mum went to the psychologist with me in the morning and accused me of doing everything out of spite. I couldn't stand it anymore. I screamed that it hadn't been me, that there was a girl living in my head, and suddenly my mum burst into tears. She told me a secret that my parents had hid from me from birth.
Is this the second head?
A girl really did live inside me. I had been born with two heads. The second one hadn't developed and belonged to my would-have-been Siamese twin, but was now merely a parasite. This underhead had the makings of a brain and even some kind of consciousness, but had been completely unviable. Most importantly, it was now threatening my life. The doctors performed an operation and removed the physical elements of my parasite sister, but as it turned out, this was not the end. At the hospital, my parents were warned that psychological problems could arise. My Siamese twin may influence my mind, even after its physical removal.
I don't think so, guys. Don't worry.
I began working with a psychologist,
I don't think this could actually happen.
Success. It seemed like the voice rarely spoke up and didn't particularly disturb me. Only when I was particularly stressed did I feel an intense urge to do something.
But now the second head's controlling her.
One night, however, after an argument over something stupid, I had gone to bed only to open my eyes and heard my mother cry out. I was stood over my parents' bed, not understanding how I ended up there. My mum and dad stood across from me on the other side of the bed, scared. In my hands was an empty pot. I had tried to pour boiling water on my parents.
This is serious. She needs to get help, guys.
My mum had woken up seconds before and managed to roll her and my father out the way.
Jeez,
and all because of a quarrel that had happened that evening. My parents told me the next day that for my safety they would place metal bars on my windows and soon began to lock my bedroom at night.
That's so sad.
It enraged me terribly. They were treating me like I was crazy.
But, I mean, she's doing pretty bad things. They gotta find a solution. They gotta make sure she's safe and she's not hurting others.
But I was fine. I was normal. am an ordinary girl. Nevertheless, their steps turned out to be futile. One night, the voice came back. I woke to my parents shaking me in a panic. There was fire all around. Everything was burning, and in my hands was a gasoline tank.
Is the twin getting revenge?
Dreaming about fire and waking up, saved us from death. Now I understood what the voice was seeking: revenge. My parents had gotten rid of my sister, so she had taken their home too. I knew she was happy that the score was even. I stopped hearing the voice after the fire, but my mum doesn't believe me. She and dad sent me for treatment in a psychiatric hospital,
this is awful.
And it's awful here. I feel really bad all the time. They gave me these pills and the doctors just irritate me. But I'm completely normal. It seems to me that my parents just want me to not exist, just like my sister.
Oh my gosh. What's worse than having two heads? What about no face?
I lost my present, future, and past all at once in the blink of an eye. At least, that's what I thought just a couple of months ago.
What happened?
From the moment I was born, I lived a fairy tale life, and my mum tried to raise me to become a princess one day.
Oh wow, okay.
I had everything. Popularity, charm, and a bad temper.
Good
a proven
school
formula
life?
For success. Even though I was difficult,
Modeling?
I was beautiful at the same time, and it seemed to be without a doubt that I had a successful career as a model ahead of me.
Very
but
lucky.
One evening, everything changed.
Oh, no.
On the eve of my graduation,
Did she lose her
my
face?
boyfriend Chris picked me up from the house in his brand new Porsche. Chris was driving us down a road that was as straight as an arrow.
Porsche
at the same time, a drunk electrician, Harry, was driving like a maniac at 100 miles an hour with his headlights turned off.
Never ever drive and drink, people.
He was heading straight for us. His pickup literally smeared the Porsche. Immediately, our car caught fire. Chris and the driver of the pickup truck both died on the spot, and for half a minute, I laid face down in the melting wreckage of the car. I was taken to the hospital along with part of the dashboard melted to my face. I had to undergo 7 surgeries in the next 72 hours. Doctors separated the plastic from my muscles. In some spaces, they even managed to preserve skin scraps, saved one eye, separated my lips which were melted closed. The bridge of my nose was collected like a puzzle from multiple pieces.
Luckily, this is just a story. Don't want to scare anyone, but maybe you'll make us feel a little bit more thankful about how lucky we are in our lives. Not everyone's as lucky as us.
My broken arms and legs were packed tightly in a cast.
Awful.
In part, they were even able to save my hearing, but I permanently lost the ability to speak. When I finally woke up 3 days after the accident, all I could feel was pain everywhere. I was given so many painkillers that I don't even know who or where I was, what I was doing here, and who all these people were crying at my bed. I will never forget the moment when I looked into a mirror for the first time since the accident.
And she was a model before?
It happened on the 4th month of my stay at the hospital.
4
when the
months.
nurse removed the bandages from my head,
She won't even be able to see very well.
I saw 2 extra wrinkles appear in my mother's youthful face. The mirror was round, and the reflection of my face looked like a burnt pancake with holes for the eyes, mouth, and nostrils. During my entire stay in the hospital, no one spoke a word about my injuries. Everyone comforted me, saying, "Everything will be fine," or "You will get through this." But I could not even imagine that my face had turned into a scary, skinless skull. I could not believe this freaky creature in the reflection. in fact, was me. Yelling and waving my arms, I kicked everyone out of the ward. I needed to scream,
she can
break
get past
something
this
to
and
take
feel
out
better.
my anger and pain.
You would feel angry if this happened.
Counting a glass vase with the mirror, I imagined breaking the face of the person who stole my life and shattered it to pieces.
I'm not that guy's an idiot.
The fairy tale was over. The princess had become a monster, and this time it was forever. Probably at that moment, all that the world knew of the old Ruby had disappeared. When they released me from the hospital, I became a ghost of our country mansion. I did not want to accept any of the realities of my new life or to see anyone from the outside world. Neither did I want to be seen by anyone. All I could do was just wish to stay that same old Ruby, whose face I now had a hard time remembering sometimes. I continued to blog on Instagram, posting old photos and talking about my fascinating life along with...
That's hard. I forget about that. If you're younger and you're living so much of your life online, you can't really do that anymore.
One time,
my
parents made an appointment with a psychotherapist, a specialist just for mutilated people like me. Dr. Sally was his name. Yeah, another narrow-minded old man, I thought, hearing his name.
People are here to help you.
I agreed to meet him, but under one condition. Our meeting must be held in the dark. He asked questions, and I answered them. Yes, silence. No, clap. The first 10 questions were typical life-affirming slogans, as if I read them from a piece of paper. After each of them, I clapped and thought, why did I agree to this? However, the next question was straight to the point. Dr. Sally asked, Ruby, do you think your life is over? I wanted to clap, but I couldn't. Then he asked, do you think that there is not a single chance to get back even a small part of your previous life? Are you sure that no one can ever understand your pain? All these questions were followed by complete silence. If I wanted to find the answers to these questions, said Dr. Sally, I needed to turn on the lights. When I turned on the lights, I saw a man whose face was lacking a nose and that looked like it was sewn together from many pieces, a scar on top of a scar. I understood in that moment.
They can relate to each other.
Is the only one I could trust. He understood me.
She's not the only one.
Every week. It seemed like he read my thoughts, and I just kept silent.
He will understand what she's going through.
He also talked about his family and children, and about the fact that he refused to do a face transplant surgery, because with a new face, he thought he would not be able to help people like me. My meetings with Dr. Sally breathed new life into me. I gave him my word, not to give up. I will never break the promise I made to him. Tomorrow is my face transplant surgery, and this will be my first step towards a new life.
They do
Who knows what kind of person I will become with my new face?
Quite successfully.
However,
as well.
It isn't really that important. After all, having lost my old face helped me to find my true self.
Wow, that's crazy. No matter how bad you think things are, it could be worse for someone else, and there's always a light at the end of a tunnel. Guys, check more videos out on screen. Click to keep on watching. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.